Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Motoroids. My name is Karan. Today we are going to talk about the Benelli TRK502. We have this particular road biased version with us. The other one, that's called the X, costs 40,000 more than this motorcycle. This one will set you back by 5 lakh rupees ex-showroom. And to tell you more about this motorcycle, let's start with the design first. As you can see, for that money, for 5 lakh rupees, you get quite a lot of motorcycle. And if you just take a look at the styling bits on this motorcycle, all of this is very aggressively styled. And if I take this badge away, it will be very difficult to tell if it's a Benelli or another upmarket Italian brand. Now let's start with the front over here. Let's start with this big windscreen that you see. It's attached to this solid static metal frame over here and is not adjustable. So I'm 6 feet tall, and when I'm in the saddle I can see from here on top of the windscreen, but if you're someone who's shorter than me, you might have to see through this screen here, and maybe after a few months or probably a year of usage, this might get a few scratches, so that might be a bit of a problem. Other than that, you have these nice looking headlights over here, but they're conventionally illuminated. You have these nice tiny DRLs over here as well, so they light up like that, and the traffic indicators are LEDs too. You have this nice beak over here, makes it look very aggressive, sort of that alien thing going on over there. Besides that, you have these alloy wheels, 17 inches front and back both, in Pirelli Angel ST tires. The front is a 120 by 70, rear is a 160 by 60, both are tubeless. You get a single 260 mm rear disc brake, and up front you have twin 320 mm discs. Both are governed by an ABS system. You get switchable ABS where the rear ABS can be disconnected. Also, you have this really nice fat fork here. As you can see, it's finished really well, and this one is 50 mm in size, and in terms of ride quality and dynamics, we'll tell you more about that later on. Besides that, what you also get standard with this motorcycle is this crash guard over here, and these mounts for panniers, and this section over here for a top box. All of this is standard, and the bits that you put over here and on the sides is something you can buy as accessories. Now coming back to this crash guard here, it is very wide and it is very sturdy, so if this bike tips over, it will take that fall very nicely, protecting all the bits over here. And if you've noticed, this protrudes beyond the handlebar, so once the bike tips, these bits will be protected. Now this particular motorcycle, you have 190 mm of ground clearance. However, this road going version does not get a bash plate. The X version gets a metal bash plate over here. Besides that, if you look at these panels, they do seem pretty well built. This is a 20-liter fuel tank, and the seat over here, by the looks of it, is very comfortable. I've spent some time over here. It is indeed a nice place to be. We'll also get a volunteer to sit behind and show you how comfortable the seat is. It is pretty wide on its own as well, although getting in the seat for the pillion seems a little troublesome because of the height. This seat is 800 mm tall from the ground. I'm 6 feet tall. The 502X gets a seat which is 840 millimeter in height. That's because of the larger wheel up front. And if you're someone who's probably beyond 5'4", 5'3", you should not have any problem getting onto this motorcycle and putting your feet down. As you can see, my feet are firmly on ground, so much so I also have my knees slightly angled. So that's a good thing. And that pillion seat you look behind me, it is also very wide and very comfortable. You can travel all day long on this machine without fatigue, owing to the comfortable seat and the relaxed riding position. An interesting thing about the Swingarm is that it features different designs on both sides. While the one on the right has two tubes conjoined, the other side witnesses one of the two tubes going up towards the suspension area. And besides that, suspension at both ends over here, you do get a rear spring which is adjustable for preload, but other than that, there's no scope for any adjustment. The front forks too are standard, and there's no adjustability there as well. The chassis that holds everything together here is a trellis stripe frame, as you can see, and the paint quality is rather nice, although these welds are slightly more visible. And other than that, build quality seems to be pretty sturdy. For this price, it's par for the course. Now let's come to the cockpit, the area where the rider would be looking at information and handling all the controls. Now if you see, this is a pretty basic looking instrument console. There's a red needle for the rev counter. By the way, this motorcycle redlines between 9 and 12,000 RPM, but 9,500 RPM is where the limiter cuts in. You have telltale lights here. There's an engine malfunction light over here. These are trafficators. That's a neutral sign, high beam, That's your low engine oil light, that's for the ABS, and this is for the temperature. But this digital display over here is rather basic. All you can see is speed, the time, that's the electronic fuel gauge. You have your odometer over here, and there are 2 trip meters. Besides there's nothing. And apart from that, you also get the section in this display here which tells you about the engine temperature. Besides that, you do have a gear indicator over here, and there's a speedometer in the middle. But then apart from that, you only have 2 trip meters and a main odometer. Nothing to tell you about real time or average fuel economy or any other trip related information you get on modern displays other than that. Now, talking about the switch over here, you see this is an ABS switch, so you can turn off ABS for the rear wheel only. You get that functionality in the 502X as well. And how do you engage or disengage it? You just have to press it for 5 seconds and hold it, and the ABS light there either blinks or it just goes off. What about switchgear? You have a pass light button over here. There's a switch for high and low beam. These are indicators. This is your horn, and it's very tactile to operate. There's an engine kill switch over here. There's a hazard light switch over here as well, and that's how you fire up the motorcycle. Besides that, you have this gear lever over here which is adjustable. However, the clutch lever on the other side has no scope for adjustment. Over here you also get a USB accessory socket that's 5 volt or 2 ampere, 10 watts rather. So that is how you can plug your cell phone or a GPS unit, which you can probably mount somewhere over here. Now, before we start talking about the performance of this motorcycle, let's fire it up and make you listen what it sounds like. This happens to be one of the most interesting sounding motorcycles for this class. It almost sounds like a 4-cylinder motorcycle, and you really have to listen to it to understand what I'm talking about. So that's what the Benelli TRK502 sounds like. It almost sounds like a 4-cylinder motorcycle for a parallel twin, that is. And now we'll tell you more about how it performs on the road when you get into that saddle. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Well, this is a 235 kilo motorcycle, and it is powered by a 500cc parallel twin motor which makes 47.5 PS at 8000 RPM and 46 Newton meters of torque at 6000 RPM. Now that amount of power for a 235 kilo motorcycle, as you would have guessed, is not much on paper. And even when you're riding this motorcycle, acceleration initially is not very strong. You have to keep that engine spinning within its mid-range for actual power or actual momentum to kick in, after which it's about 4,500 5,000 RPM. Beyond that point where the motorcycle starts building a decent amount of power, that goes up right till 9,500 RPM where the limiter cuts in. Now the one weak point about that engine is that it does send some vibrations to the seat, those foot pegs over there and the handlebars and that dome as well, which also starts vibrating pretty much after 5,500 RPM right till 9,500 RPM where the engine's limiter cuts in. And what that does is it takes away a little amount from that long-legged smooth characteristic of this adventure motorcycle. Besides that, performance again, in second gear this motorcycle maxes out at 100 kilometers per hour, third gear will take to 126 and fourth gear takes to about 141 kilometers per hour. But again, this kind of an engine is supposed to give this motorcycle a long-legged character where it has to feel torquey, it has to be smooth, but this motorcycle, that engine has to be pushed hard to maintain higher speeds, and that is something we feel is a little out of sync for this motorcycle. That engine and the characteristic of that motor is something which would have felt really at home on a street spec motorcycle. Now let's talk about fuel efficiency. Benelli claims this motorcycle can return about 25.6 kilometers to the liter. Out on the highway, it is good for 25 kilometers to the liter. In the city, at the most you get 20 to 22 as we experienced. And let's also address how is heat management on that engine. Well, it does not heat up within the city. It's a hot day today as well, and we did not feel any discomfort while riding this motorcycle at low revs or higher gears inside the city also. So on the heat management front, that engine is quite nice. So in conclusion, what do we have to tell you about the Benelli 502 TRK? Well, as you can see, this is quite a substantial motorcycle. You get a lot of motorcycle and this striking appearance for your money. But then if you're someone who's a serious rider who wants more performance from that motorcycle, you'll have to spend more money and get that Versys or the V-Strom 650. But then if you don't want to spend that amount of money and if you still want an adventure motorcycle which looks the part, this is it. Now, if that option doesn't do it for you as well, there is another thing that you can do is wait for a little more, because there are certain other products from manufacturers like KTM, which will be in the market for some time, and those motorcycles will develop power which is almost similar to what this engine on this motorcycle develops. And if you can wait for that time, you might have a lot of other choices too, for a lot lesser money as well. So that is what we have to tell you about the Benelli TRK. Well, it is a very nice looking motorcycle, and you'd get a lot of attention if you're here in the saddle on this bike. So on that note, we hope we've managed to answer your questions about this Benelli over here. If you do have any more questions, do leave a comment in the section below. And besides that, if you did like this video, do hit that like button, share this video with your friends, or hit that subscribe button for more such content from Motoroids. We'll come back with another video another day. Until then, thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.